that the portraits would be no longer older than this particular day in June. How coincidental that, I'm reading this book for June and it was Dorian's picture was painted in the month of June. Like, is that a coincidence? That cannot be a coincidence. Like, and so um we move on to chapter one of the picture of Dorian Gray. And so I made notes when I started it again, like reading it for the second time, because the first time I read it, I did not fully grasp anything. Truly, I was kind of asking myself, okay, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? It took me a long time to make sense of anything, but I took a lot of I don't know if you can see, but a lot of vocabulary gains, plenty essence. I could not even keep up writing with them, so I just marked them in the book. But page 21, rereading it, it describes Basil meeting Dorian for the first time, and I took note of the quote Basil used. He said he thought a curious sensation of terror came over me. So my own personal conclusion from that is even before painting Dorian, Basil was already doomed by his interaction with him alone. The overwhelming, the obsession crush which he encourages at this time unwittingly, that is Dorian, he was not yet awake in that sense, follows the pattern of his that he became conscious of only after the death of Sibyl Vane. So when I was reading it and Basil was all doom and gloom, like screaming, oh no, I don't want you to, like saying, Lord Henry, I don't want you to meet Dorian because you will spoil Dorian. I was scared, like, okay, what will Lord Henry make Dorian do? But surprisingly, Dorian went out on his own, and found Sibyl Vane by himself. He didn't even bring them to meet her at all. Like, he didn't even talk about her with them until the day he wanted them to meet her. And then he was like, oh, he's getting married and all. And they're like, getting married. Lord Henry was even like, marriage, like, I even imagine Lord Henry's influence would be that Lord Henry would make him not marry the love of his life, and then he would be doomed to a path of heartbreak or something. But no, he didn't. He brought them to see her after he had already even asked for her hand in marriage and all. So after his interaction with Sibyl Vane that fateful night, and she, killed herself afterwards, I felt like, okay, it was kind of like, it was very, very shocking to me. But I was like, okay, what did Henry do in this moment? Like, what did Henry do? What did Henry do to Dorian Gray to make him go on this path of destroying another human being's life entirely? And there was nothing I could pick up, you get, aside, and I didn't notice it the first time I read it. Do you get all of these things? I didn't notice it the first time. I was just like reading it, raw, just reading. My brain was just like, let's pick up. What is there to pick up? And I wasn't seeing what was so glaring. So the second time reading it now, I had, like, I paid, like, I didn't even try. It was just glaring to me. After reading it the second time, it was just like boom in my face. Where Basil went, a curious sensation of terror came over me. Like, it was just like, wow, you know, wow. How did I not see this the first time? Dorian goes for that to say, I had a strange feeling that fate had in store for me exquisite joys and exquisite sorrows. And when Basil was sort of giving an introduction, not direct introduction, like I was telling Lord Harry about Dorian before Dorian came to the studio, Lord Harry listened to him nervously. Like, Lord Harry, it was described that Lord Harry was pulling daisies, like he was picking the daisies in Basil's garden, like on the ground. He was picking it and he was pulling the flowers to bits with long nervous fingers. And I was like, why was he nervous? Is it because of the way, like, Basil was relating his fears to him, about me? That means Basil's fears must have been very great, not great as in big or something, but great as in deep-seated fear, like somebody that feels, somebody that is on a train that is a train that is already headed for an accident or a complete wreckage, you get. like someone that's already on a train that is, okay, this train is going to disappear, it's going to crash, and burn, but they just have to sit and watch it happen. You get, they wouldn't know how it happened, but they are sure that this train is going to end them. So I guess that was what was making Lord Henry a bit nervous. But Lord Henry's superpower is his indifference. Is it a superpower? But he's just like very, very indifferent, And because of his indifference, he is neutral to Dorian's charms on meeting him. Instead, he just looks him like omniscient, like you get. And to me, it feels like that is just Oscar Wilde silently watching his play happen, like silently watching his story take form. Like he was just watching by the sideline, giving commentary by the side, saying his own thoughts and everything about it, but like he didn't really have that great of an influence. The story happened around him, you get, basically, or in front of him. To Basil, it was just like, sorry, to Lord Henry, it was just fun. So I go further to, when I was reading it again, I went further. I was like, I feel like Basil was our insight into what Dorian's companionship means, because he tells Henry accordingly. Then I feel Harry, that's what he calls Lord Henry. That's what everyone calls Lord Henry, like away from his official title, they call him Harry. Then I feel, Harry, that I have given away my whole soul to someone who treats it as if it were a flower to put in his coat, a bit of decoration to charm his vanity, an ornament for a summer's day. From this you can, it's just so clear. Sorry, it's just so clear that Dorian is what he is. Okay, Dorian has always been whatever the hell, we later came to see him be. But we did not, or let me not say we, I didn't pay attention because I felt like, okay, Basil is a man, maybe although I didn't feel, I was aware, the adoration was very clear. So me, I felt it was just a plain, like, unfulfilled kind of crush, on a man in a time where, it was probably not done. This English society, the most repressed lot on earth at that time. So yes, I feel like I was I was not seeing Basil's angle, because I was like, okay, Basil found Dorian in a way, you get, and then Basil brought Dorian to Lord Henry, and Lord Henry, twisted him into what he became. And I'm like, even though I felt like that was what happened first time around, I could not really see any clear moment where Henry was literally like, shape shifting him into something. And Lord Henry is actually very dull compared to the Lord, compared to Dorian. Lord Henry is quite dull. He's married, but he sleeps around. His wife also has affairs, and all he does is go to parties, go to luncheons, go to hunting parties, all of those things. And in those parties, he just spills, just talks on and on and on and on. And his views are very interesting. So I feel like maybe Lord Henry is kind of like a, not really a philosopher. Philosopher would it be going too far? I don't call him a philosopher because of all the trappings of his title and his station and his nobility, but I feel like he was somewhat of that, around people that were very superficial and very hypocritical. You get, he was able to see all of it, and even though he didn't reject it, he didn't reject it for his own self. He was like, even if people, I'm not going to participate in the hypocrisy. Like, I know what people are doing, I'm not condemning you for it either, but I'm not going to participate in it. Basically, that was his energy I got. And so I'm now saying a lot of Basil's thoughts and quotes, because Basil is where we see Dorian, still asleep to what he truly was. But whether you're asleep to what you are, whether you're awake to what you are what you are. I feel like that's the point of this whole ecosystem, this story, this universe, this world. You get? So before I even went so far, I had to jot this down. As I read the portrait, as I read the picture of Dorian Gray again, I realized a wonderful and delightful secret. It seems like the author started his story from the end, because now I very clearly see through the obscurity of the long wordy sentences to the soul of Dorian Gray. This is the soul he hides very well in the first read. By the second read, you see it and truly you are horrified. This book is that picture, the actual portrait. It is not just the title. So the picture of Dorian Gray is not the title of the book. We are reading the picture. When when you read it the first time and get to the end, you see that it ends in a way that Dorian supposedly stabs the portrait, and then everybody outside of that secret room hears a very painful cry, and they rush. Even policemen come in because of how painful and guttural the cry is. So they come into the house, and on the floor, first of all, they see the portrait, perfectly beautiful, not aged a day, no sign of corruption or mildew or dust, that Basil supposedly saw. Nothing was wrong with the picture. But on the floor, the Dorian that just earlier in the day Henry had called young, Henry had called as the epitome of youth, Henry had called perfection. Let's look for that part. Henry says, the world has cried out against us both, but it has always worshipped you. It always will worship you. You are the type of what the age is searching for and what it is afraid it has found. I am so glad that you have never done anything, never carved a statue or painted a picture or produced anything outside of yourself. Life has been your art. You have set yourself to music. Your days are sonnets. That's like just Henry basically basking in the beauty Dorian actually was. But when the policemen and everybody gathered, at the scene of the, should I say crime? It's not a crime. It was not a crime, but at the scene, they saw the picture clearly reflecting their beautiful, lovely master, or to the policeman, a very lovely man. And on the floor was a wizened, old, grotesque, frail human being that was unrecognizable, aside from when they now saw his rings. As in the servants, when they saw the rings, they realized it was their master. So it's like when something is pointing, like when there's a sign pointing to something, and then you are looking towards where the sign is pointing, and you think something is where the sign is pointing at, then you now have to come back and realize that the sign is what you are actually looking for, not what the sign is pointing at. You get? Kind of like it was it a mindfuck? It wasn't really a mindfuck, because it made me so, it filled me with some kind of ecstasy, realizing that, coming into that, I read the picture. You can't read a picture in words. Like the picture of Dorian Gray is literally a painting. It's just like a painting on a canvas. It's colors, it's different things, and sketches and all of that. So you can't read it, okay? And then whenever Dorian goes in a secret room to look at the picture, he tells us how corrupt it is, and we can only just be like, okay, I think you're insane, maybe you're not normal, those kind of things. But like, when you read the book, you see that is what we are reading, is the picture of Dorian Gray. It's not the title. The book is the picture. You get? The book is the picture. The book, the story is the picture. Basically, that's, oh god, that was like, just made, in fact, when I got to that point, that awareness, I was like, yes, this is why I read the book again. Okay, it says it here. When Tears filled Dorian eyes, thinking about how pretty the picture was, how perfect it was. He goes on to say, how sad it is, how sad it is. I shall grow old and horrible and dreadful, but this picture will remain always young. It will never be older than this particular day of June. If it were only the other way, if it were I who was to be always young and the picture that was to grow old, for that, I would give everything. Yes, there is nothing in the world, in the whole world, I would not give. I would give my soul for that. And it happened exactly as he wished. When he killed himself, at least when he tried to kill the portrait, everything reversed back. Age went back to him, and the beauty went back to the portrait. It's kind of like all these fairy tales where somebody will make a wish in a wishing well, and when they make the wish, they go and enjoy their life, until something happens to them and then they regret ever making that wish. Yeah. So I feel like is that was the fun of it. And because of that wish Dorian made, we could not really see, or I could not really see I could not really see the picture. I could not read the picture of Dorian Gray. I was looking at Dorian. I was looking at Dorian. But then when he killed the portrait, or the other reversed, and then when I started reading it again, I could now read the picture of Dorian Gray, and I stopped looking at Dorian. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I love this book. I love this story so much. So much. I still want to talk about several things. So I'm not going to end today's video there. Next story in Oscar Wilde's series of stories is drum roll, Lord Arthur Saville's crime. So the next time I'm going to make a video about one of these things. Hopefully June has not ended by then, because when June ends, I'm moving on to another book entirely. Whew. Yes, the Lord Arthur Saville's crime, a study of duty. Yes, so that's the next story. I feel like I can move on now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for humoring me, and thank you for listening to me. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful. I feel like this is the joy of reading that I was not able to have like as a kid, because I would read one book, go to the next one almost immediately, and I didn't have anybody I could talk about it with. Truly, I didn't have anybody. It was all in my head, just marinating. So the fun of just even talking about it here, 100 over 100. And if you have anything more you want to tell me, tell me in the comments and all. So thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next. Bye.